Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Ross Benjamin of RBWins.com. And like every Thursday, I'm joined by that handsome gentleman on the other side of me, Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com, one of the finest handicappers in the country today. Doug, how are you, my friend?
Well, I got a big smile on my face today, Ross. I'm happy. And so, what does that mean? Well, it means life is pretty good. And the fact that so far this week, I went 3-1 on props on Monday night. I went 2-0 on Tuesday and 2-0 on Wednesday. So,
Beautiful.
from the handicapping side of my life, everything is wonderful at the moment.
How about the other side of your life? I think that's wonderful too, right?
Well, there is a lot to be happy about from that
Sure.
standpoint. And among the reasons, there's an 80% chance of rain on Saturday.
Oh, you're talking to a guy in Western New York where it's been raining all day and it's really damp. So, boy, oh boy, you know how to, even though you're happy, you know how to bring another guy down. Anyway,
Oh well, see, just you're already experiencing it. I'm supposed to be experiencing it in the near future, so we'll see how that happens. Well, like where you live though, and I lived in the Midwest for years. If
yeah,
they pretty much if it's going to rain, it does.
yeah,
Here, not so much.
yeah, yeah. Well, God bless you. I'm glad that you made the move out to Arizona. You seem very happy out there. And, Western New York is home. I could piss and moan about the weather. Or I could move. I lived in Florida for 8 years. It wasn't for me. Nice place to visit, not a nice place for me to live. I was in South Florida. Nothing against the good people down there, but you could take a guy away from his home city, but you can't take the home city out of the guy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it purely is what you like, and I didn't like snow, and I didn't like cold, so I'm where I ought to
Yeah,
be.
yeah. Well, I don't like that either, but it's me, you know. So anyway, Doug, any interesting tidbit? We're going to be covering some NFL games today. Doug will be taking a look at the Dolphins and Vikings matchup. I will look at the Jags and the Colts. But before we get to that, Doug, anything comes to mind in the world of sports betting you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, well, the one thing, and I'd like to get your take on this too. I'll offer mine up first here. So far, I mean, and it depends on the sports book, but the unders are really, they've taken hold, and so there's been 80 games played, and just depending, it's you either got 48 and 32 to the under, or 47, 32 and one. Just like I said,
Yeah,
depending on the sports book. So, when you see numbers like that, the first, at least for me, the first thing I do is why? Okay. What is the reason? What is causing this to occur? And I think it has to do with how the game started to change last year, and maybe even a little the year before a little bit, with all these offenses and high-powered quarterbacks, as to how defenses started to approach them differently. And the approach is to go to what they call cover two, which is two safeties, okay, back further to prevent long passes. So what has that done? Well, the teams started to find out last year that throwing the deep ball was not as successful. So they had to adjust. So how have they adjusted? Well, they're running the ball more. The number of rush attempts is up significantly this year across the board in the NFL. So what happens when you have more rush attempts and or you're throwing more screen passes, shorter passes? Well, now teams don't have that, not as often, that big play in the arsenal anymore to where they can score quickly, which is so now you're running the ball. You're having to go length of the field, okay, with multiple plays. And for a lot of teams, that is difficult to do. Now, that could be because of their quarterback, could be because of any number of different reasons. So you have that. And then along with that, you then have the clock running more continuously. If you have more rush attempts, the clock's going to run. So it shortens the number of possessions, it shortens the game overall, which in turn leads to lower scores.
yeah.
That's my take on it, Ross. Anybody that would like to comment on what I just said, please do so. Ross and I always like to see the comments,
Yeah.
whether you agree or disagree on that. Now, Ross, you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I'll give you an example of exactly what you're saying. The Chicago Bears, I was handicapping the game for tonight. I don't know if you'll see this in time, folks, but I do have a play tonight in the Chicago Washington game. But anyway, the Chicago Bears run the ball 64% of the time this season. 64%. Yet, despite the fact that they're only throwing it 36 times, they've given up 18 sacks, which is near the bottom of the league. So, yeah, I mean, there's a formula right there. You got an anemic offense that's running the ball 64% of the time and can't protect the quarterback. That's just one example. There are many out there. And all I could say, Doug, is we've discussed this on several occasions. When you see a cluster like this, usually it turns the other way. And it's very seldom at the end of the season. Right now, we're at, hovering around 60% unders for the year, right? 48 and 32, 47, 32 and 1, right around there. So I would be shocked if the unders were hitting at 55% or more at the season's end. Usually that'll even off as time goes on. It's not an exact science, folks, but it's just the way things happen like this in the world of the NFL, especially where it's more of a competitive league. You don't get the blowouts like you do in college football. The rules are different. And so in college, for example, in college football, I'm surprised there's so many high scoring games because they allow contact after 5 yards by the defensive backs. So in any event, yeah, good point to bring up, Doug. And another point that I'm sure Doug had in mind when he mentioned that was the fact that a lot of you out there like to play overs, because who wants to sit there the whole game and watch it, both defenses excel? Most people don't, and the books do prey on that. So again, until they start making future adjustments and bringing these totals down even more, yeah, you might want to keep that in mind when you're doing your NFL totals handicapping.
Yeah, and at the same time, Ross, there's one other element that comes into play. Now, this isn't going to be as talked about as much, but it's a one that everybody that is a fan of any team will agree with me on, and I know you will too. All right. So, first off, it's 3rd and 8. Okay, pick the team, doesn't make any difference. What did they do on a continual basis? They throw a 5-yard pass. Okay, so you throw a 5-yard pass because the coach says, hey, that's the only thing that was available to us. So we asked our guy to make a play. Okay, that's a bunch of BS. Okay, that's nonsense. If you need 8 yards, you run a pass play that goes 9. Okay, that's not hard to do.
It drives me crazy.
It drives you. And then conversely now, okay, we'll take the other side of it where you have it's 4th and 1, or I'm sorry, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, somewhere's in there. And so what do we see? No, they throw a 5-yard pass when it's 3rd and 8, but on 3rd and 1, they throw a 25-yard pass down the sideline.
Because they had one-on-one coverage.
One-on-one coverage, and you have to throw it like in a bushel basket.
Yeah,
not even a bushel
you got to
basket.
drop it in the bucket, or you got to make
drop
the back shoulder
bucket.
Throw. Yeah.
And they do that, and that's how you play the game. Okay.
Yeah.
That's another reason. I guarantee you scoring is down because of their inability to come up with the right play calls in these situations. Little rant. I'm good, but you know what? I'm sick of seeing it, and I know you are too.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about the cover 2 shell, that a lot of teams are playing now to prevent the big play, forcing teams to matriculate their way down the field, as Hank Stram would say, down the field. And, force them to be patient, and along the way, hope they make a mistake. And then once you get down in the red zone or the scoring area, hope to hold them to a field goal. That's just the way it is. So having said that, all of a sudden a quarterback who's been seeing cover 2 all day on 3rd and 1 sees a one-on-one situation on the outside with his best receiver. And lo and behold, the temptation is too great for most guys. So in any event, good point, Doug. Now that we got that out of the way, how you been doing of late, buddy? besides
I like I
baseball?
say,
I mean,
it's been a great start, to the week. NFL had a real nice week last week, so that's good. So just finished up my card. I believe I got 12 plays this weekend. So for me, that's a lot of plays. 7 in college and 5 in the NFL. So got a lot of stuff going on. Major League Baseball still rolling, Ross. 3 straight in playoffs this week.
nice.
26 and 14 run since the 1st of September, and then 14 and 5 in the postseason, dating back to last year. So that has been very good. I know the puck dropped. I think Buffalo. I don't even know what Buffalo did last night.
No,
They
they
played,
play
right?
tonight. They play
Oh, they
Ottawa
played tonight.
tonight.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
right. That's right. And then the season opener tonight.
yeah.
But hey, I've started 2-0. Okay, in the
Beautiful.
NHL, and so I am excited about that. So there's a lot of good things going on, and there's a lot of things I'm looking forward to this upcoming weekend, Ross.
You could find Doug at docsports.com. Docsports.com. Great website. Great handicappers on that site, including Doug, who I think is the best, and I'm biased. But that's okay, right, Doug? It's okay if I'm biased.
It's your show. I'm the guest. If you
Anyway,
want to make me look good, hey, you know what? You got no argument for me.
listen, buddy, it's not an effort to make you look good. It really isn't, honestly. So yeah, Docs has been around for 51 years now. And like I've alluded to on several occasions with me and Doug, we've been in the business for 20, somewhere around 20 years, each of us. And longevity speaks volumes in this business. We've seen a lot of people come and go, a lot of companies come and go just in our time in 20 years. Docs has been around for 51 years, folks. That should tell you something. Anyway, you can find me at rbwins.com. Right now, it's Sports Memo, #1 ranked handicapper in the NFL, off to a 21-10 start, 68%, off a 4-1 week last week. If you do see this video in time, I do have a winning side in tonight's Chicago Bears and Washington Commanders game. So you want to jump on that, but I will have 7 college football selections up later today at rbwins.com, and I'll have at least 4, possibly 5 in the NFL on Sunday, and then the Monday night game. So, by the way, my primetime games, NFL primetime games, Thursday, Sunday, and Monday nights, 9-1 with my last 10 this year. I opened the season with a loss on the Dallas Cowboys on the Sunday night game in week 1. And since that time, Doug, I've hit 9 of the last 10 primetime games. So, again, folks, I know it gets confusing. There's a lot of great handicappers at Docs. There's a lot of great handicappers at the other sites beside my own that I post at. But if you're looking for somebody who's cashing in on primetime games and the #1 NFL handicapper in the country, you might want to come my way, rbwins.com. Anyway, Doug, we got some free picks in the NFL, and we're going to let you begin. Nice matchup between the Vikings and Dolphins. What do you got?
Well, in this one, Miami, Ross, they started, 3-0. Now they've lost their last 2, and I'm not sure they're in a great position this week either. Now, but it's a little more than just the obvious reason. The obvious reason is the fact that third stringer Skylar Thompson is going to be the starting quarterback this week. So that has to limit what they would like to do offensively, and particularly in the passing game, with their skilled receivers that they have. Now, Thompson, though, he is a very good runner. If you saw him at Kansas State, you're well aware of that. And he'll be able, he'll have some runs for sure. When he drops back to pass, the pressure comes, he'll slide out to one side or the other and gain some yards from time to time. But of equal importance, and to me in this game, is the Miami defense. They rank 24th overall. They're 28th against the forward pass, and they're 30th in pass yards per pass attempt. Miami on the season, Ross, is being outgained by 39 yards per game, and most of that was when Tua was playing, not sitting out. Now, Minnesota comes in with the #8 passing offense with Kirk Cousins at the controls. I think he should really have a big game against that secondary of Miami with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, and even Delvin Cook, in various routes in that passing game. Now, I look at New England. I look at Miami in their last 4 games since they forced 3 turnovers against New England. They have had 1 turnover forced. They're -5, okay, in their last 4 games on the turnover margin. Minnesota sits atop the division. They've the NFC North, 3 straight wins, but they have failed to cover their last 4 games. And let's face it, I'm not going to deny it. This could be a squeamish pick for some individuals. Nonetheless, I look at this Dolphins defense. I think it's scuffling. I think that their pass offense is going to be held back by a third string quarterback. So in this case, I've seen 2 examples of the line here. Minnesota is at 3.5, or Minnesota is at -3, and then the juice is up to -120. Obviously, I paid a little extra juice, get the -3 with the Vikings. I'm going to take the Vikings, Ross, to get the job done and win this game by 7 or more points on Sunday.
So to clarify, Doug Upstone likes the Minnesota Vikings. If you get them at 3.5, buy it down to 3. If you're fortunate to get it at 3, that's fine as well. But remember, folks, the juice only counts when you lose. Okay, so when you're dealing with good handicappers, it's always a good idea to buy off the hook to the whole number, whatever way you're going, whether it be with the underdog or the favorite. It's just smart betting. It's not a sign of weakness. Key numbers, I know Doug mentioned last week, they don't happen as much as you would think, and he's absolutely correct, but they do happen to fall on 3, 6, 7, and 10, much more than any other number. It's still a low percentage, but it happens with much more frequency than the others occur. So very good, Doug. And yeah, I mean, that was the one thing that came to my mind. Kirk Cousins in that passing game of the Vikings should have a field day against the Miami Dolphins pass defense. And raise your hand if you thought Skylar Thompson, when watching him at Kansas State, was going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL at some point, even in an emergency role like this. Now put it down, because you're an absolute liar. Okay, no offense. Anyway, all right, let's get to my game, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts. Folks, before I get to that game and the free pick, just a friendly reminder, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take a second to do so. It costs you absolutely nothing, no strings attached, no hidden agenda, no subscription plans. You just get, you're privy to world-class sports betting advice from some of the best in the industry. And right now, you're looking at Doug right here. He's one of the best. You're looking at Jesse Schul will be on tomorrow with me from picksandparleys.net and sportsmemo.com, formerly of covers.com. Also Big Al McMorty, and then also Sean Higgs from picksandparleys.net. Tremendous handicappers all on this channel. And after you subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell. Very important, because you won't have to keep coming back and forth to the channel to find out when we're on, because we do not tape live. We all have flexible schedules. And you'll be alerted immediately upon any of the Winner's Circles sports betting podcasts going up on our channel. In any event, Jacksonville at Indianapolis. The Jaguars 2-3, the Indianapolis Colts 2-1. And right now, Indianapolis is anywhere from a 2 to 2.5 point home favorite in this contest. A total 42, as Doug astutely pointed out, these low totals now because of all the unders that are occurring. But in this particular instance, I think it's justified. In any event, Indianapolis has some revenge here, Doug. You know, they played September 18th. This is their second meeting of the season against Jacksonville. I should say they played September 18th at Jacksonville, and the Jaguars walked away with a convincing 24-0 win in that game. Last year, the meeting before that, it was the regular season finale, and Indianapolis went into that game needing just a win to be an AFC wildcard team. And lo and behold, as a 14-point favorite with everything on the line, they not only didn't cover the game, they lost straight up by a double-digit margin, 26-11. So they've lost the last two, but keep in mind, both of those games were in Jacksonville. Indianapolis has gone 4-0 in their last 4 at home versus the Jaguars. This is also an Indianapolis franchise that's gone 46-14 straight up in their last 60 division home games. Why do I bring up this straight up number? Because we're looking at just a 2 or 2.5 in this game. Jacksonville coming off a 13-6 home loss to the then 0-3 Houston Texans, and that was as a 7-point favorite. The Jags are now 0-2 straight up in ATS in their last two. But what's even more alarming than that mini funk is the fact that they're -6 in the turnover department during those two losses. Indianapolis might be coming over the snoozer of the decade, which was that Thursday night win at Denver, 12-9, or was it a Monday night game? I can't.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Last Thursday.
Yep. And that made them 2-1, and all of a sudden they're just a half a game behind Tennessee in the division lead in AFC South. And here's the thing. Anytime you have an NFL team like the Indianapolis Colts that are +2.5 to -2.5 within that point spread parameter, and they're facing an opponent coming off a division loss, let me rehash here. NFL teams +2.5 to -2.5, like Indianapolis, with a win percentage of 500 or better, versus an opponent coming off a division loss like Jacksonville is 9-0 straight up in ATS since 2016. That's not the sole reason I like this pick, but it certainly put me over the edge. I'm going to take Indianapolis here, minus the 2 or 2.5. And folks, if you can get -135 or less on the money line, I would recommend doing that. Again, that's not a sign of weakness, folks, but think about it. We don't hesitate to lay 130 or 135 on a Major League Baseball favorite. Why would we do the same in the NFL? So I'm on Indianapolis here, -2.5 or -135 or less on the money line over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Doug Upstone, he is on the Minnesota Vikings, minus the 3.5. If they're 3.5, buy it down to 3. If they're 3, you're okay. But in any event, Mr. Upstone is on the Vikings over the Dolphins on Sunday as well. Let's knock them dead and go 2-0. Doug, any thoughts?
The only other thought I have has nothing to do with football, Ross, and just going to throw it out there. The NBA season starts next Tuesday, so I know you're looking forward to that just like I am. And I have a lot of reason to look forward to it because I've had 5 straight winning seasons in the NBA. I'll be the first to admit, I used to be what I would consider a pretty pedestrian, borderline mediocre NBA handicapper. Came up with something a few years ago, and it has worked since. So I'm looking to make it 6 in a row starting on Tuesday. And I know you're fired up, Ross, for some hot NBA action as well.
I am. You know, it's a lot on our plate at this time of year. I usually start slow, though. I walk before.
Absolutely.
I crawl before I walk when it comes to any season starting, with the exception of the NFL. It's just there's a lot of turnover in personnel. We're not talking about a 53-man roster in the NFL. We're talking about a 15-man roster in the NBA. So, you want to see how teams are transitioning from the year before. And there's always that one team that gets off to a great start that's deceiving because they're not that good a team. And there's always that team that's going to be real good by the time the year ends that starts out slow. So you want to gauge all that stuff going in. That's just me. Yeah, Doug, you make a good point. So in any event, Doug, tell the folks again what you may have going on this week and what your records are.
Okay, so what we're looking at is we got the NFL and the college football. Like I said, just coming off a 3-1 NFL week. Basically about 500 so far on the season. So not quite where I want to be, but it's week 6. okay, we got time. And now is the time to get it going. So I got a 7-unit best bet going Sunday night. Okay, so that's coming down the road for sure. And looking at 5 picks and all. College football, I think I'm 2 games under 500 for the season on there. Had a tough Saturday last week, looking to bounce back big time. I got 7 plays that I've worked up, and I got a 6-unit play going Saturday night. So got a lot of action in football. Major League Baseball, that continues to go, going extremely well, which I mentioned earlier, and gotten off to a good start in hockey. So let's see if I can keep it going, Ross. And hey, see what happens. Now, tell everybody one last time, as you mentioned.
Yeah. Well, did you win either one of those games in overtime, by the way?
I have neither game went to overtime.
Okay.
In
So
fact,
we have to keep tabs on that.
But that's
Look,
another reason I'm smiling.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you break into Doug's office because it's tightly secured, he has a black book with all his overtime losses in it. He also has another black book, like he just touched upon, that he made a change in the NBA 5 years ago. And since then, he's had 5 straight winning years. So, good luck if you can get into his office and get those secrets. You should write a book sometime, Doug.
I have written one book, as a matter of fact.
Have you really? I mean,
I actually have, yes.
Yeah,
Certainly wasn't the bestseller list, but it was. And actually, well, I don't know if I will. I actually have thoughts of 2 other books, to be perfectly honest, of things I'd like to write about. But we'll got to have the time to do it and stuff like that. So that's out there. But no, just looking forward to another big weekend, and I know you are too, Ross.
Yeah, 6-unit play on Saturday from Doug, and a 7-unit play on Sunday from Doug in the NFL. Those are his highest rated picks, folks. 7 units are the highest they give out at Doc Sports. And Doug, I know he picks his spots when he uses those games. He just doesn't throw something up against the wall just for the sake of having a 6 or 7-unit play. NFL again, folks, 21-10 to start the year, 68%, 9-1 with my last 10 primetime games, Thursday, Sunday, or Monday nights. Also 6-0 with my NFL 10-star top plays to start the year. Those are my best bets. So equivalent of Doug's 6 and 7-unit plays. So again, folks, a lot to look forward to. College football need to get a little better. Just 19-17 to start the year. I'm going to do much better than that, folks. So keep an eye on me picking it up in college football, starting with Saturday, 7 picks, including the 10-star top play. Sunday, 4 to 5 plays in the NFL, including the 10-star top play. Doug, always a pleasure, my friend. I hope you have a great weekend. And for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, we'd like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Good luck and God bless, folks.